Okay, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to our briefing on sovereign industry opportunities with Babcock. My name is Jenny Little and I'll be your MC for this afternoon. First, on behalf of Babcock, I acknowledge the First Nations people as the original inhabitants of the land we are on today. I acknowledge all elders, past, present and emerging. The list of briefings for this afternoon is shown on the screen behind me. Our speakers will outline their programs and explain to you how you can work with us to best develop and deliver sovereign industry capability. Babcock prides itself on our collaboration, working in partnership with customers and our suppliers to deliver enhanced capability to Australia's land forces. We have an opportunity for a networking session at the end, so any questions can be answered at this time. Now, most of our speakers are in the room with us this afternoon. However, we will also be showing a video for some people that have been affected by the current Victorian lockdown. So first up, I'd like to introduce Andy Davis, Babcock's Managing Director Defence, who'll provide more information about Babcock.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for taking the time to join us this afternoon. Today we want to share with you how Babcock delivers sovereign capability. We do it through local facilities, domestic supply chains, and integrated, resilient and secure channels. Both now and into the future, this involves local industry engagement, hence we're here today, and ongoing collaborative relationships with our domestic suppliers and partners. So before the team update you on specific programs, let me provide some context about the wider company. Babcock is a recognized international defence prime with extensive experience in asset optimization and acquisition, management and sustainment. We support defence forces around the world, and our history goes back about 125 years. We currently employ 32,000 people globally. In Australia and New Zealand, we employ more than 1,300 people today, focused mainly on supporting the Australian and New Zealand Defence Forces. We're headquartered in Adelaide, but we service customers in 60 locations around the region, including each of the capital cities. In the land sector, we support ADF's counter-chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear and explosive equipment, counter-CBRNE, as well as the ground support equipment across all air bases, both locally and overseas, as well as on our Navy ships. As well as this defence support, we also provide asset management to metropolitan fire services, airlines such as Qantas and Air New Zealand, and other commercial customers that help to build out our portfolio. Through these contracts, our unique and innovative approach to strategic procurement and asset management provide through-life support for over 20,000 assets in this region. Our defence credentials are also well established in the marine sector. Babcock has been involved in delivering sovereign industry capability in support of the Collins-class submarine for over 20 years, and forward now into the Future Attack Class programme. We sustain the current submarine weapon systems locally, and we will manufacture the Future Attack Class systems here in Australia. In surface ships, our Naval Ship Management Division supports the Anzac frigates and the LHDs through all aspects of their sustainment, capability upgrades and future asset stewardship. In New Zealand, we provide comprehensive fleet support to the Royal New Zealand Navy through our operation at the Devonport Naval Base and Dockyard, and this fully integrated service provides the broadest range of asset management scope, including full care and custody of some ships when required. In the joint programme space, Babcock is also preparing to expand its portfolio locally to become a leading provider of defence high-frequency comm solutions. Whilst locally we're not known for HF comms, we are one of the largest providers of strategic communication solutions to the Five Eye community and NATO, including VLF, low frequency and high frequency. We have strategic programs throughout the globe that deliver this capability today. In early 2019, we were confirmed as the prime contractor in partnership with the New Zealand Ministry of Defence for the delivery of their fixed high-frequency radio refresh, a project which is ongoing today. We've also publicised our response to JP 9101, which is the Enhanced Defence High Frequency Communication System here in Australia. We're doing this in partnership with Lockheed Martin, and it's a process that remains subject of conditions of tender today. In anticipation of future work in this area, we are looking to strengthen our relationships with local industry as a platform to grow throughout Australia, regionally, and throughout the Pacific. So, in the land space, which is where we are today at this event, ground support equipment and counter-CBRNE contracts already demonstrate Babcock's aspiration to become a leading provider of asset management, strategic supply chain, engineering, specialist training and support to the ADF. You may have seen the announcement today about being down-selected for Land 125 Phase 4. We're very pleased to be in this position. We're very pleased to be able to talk about it today. And one of the opportunities now is to engage in more detail with the local suppliers and SMEs around our integrated soldier systems program. So the team is now going to take you through our programs and other opportunities in more detail, explaining where we will be seeking input from a range of local suppliers. I hope each of you will see an avenue where you can contribute with us to build a stronger, more reliable and resilient sovereign industry that's capable of supporting our Australian Defence Force now and into the future. Thank you.
Many thanks, Andy. And now over to some key speakers via video. We have Mick Burgess, Head of Business Development Australasia, to specifically tell you about Babcock's sovereign industry capability, as well as the opportunities with CCBRNE, Land 125 and Last Mile Logistics. After Mick, you'll hear from Craig Schwartz, our Defence Business Development Manager, on exciting opportunities in communications, integrated land targetry systems and training.
Thank you very much to all our suppliers and customers who have registered for this session today or who will be joining us via live streaming. The response for this session has been truly overwhelming, so thank you for your support. You've just heard from Andy Davis about our capability and growth in the defence sector. I now want to address the primary reason why many of you are here today. How will Babcock help build sovereign industry capability and support Australian industry? The Australian Government's policy on sovereign industry capability is quite clear. Australia must have access to or control over the skills, intellectual property, financial resources and infrastructure that underpin the priorities. So how does Babcock put this into practice in our programs? Well, first of all, and this is important, all decisions for any program are made here. They're not referred to an offshore parent company. And secondly, the ability to manufacture or deliver in Australia is retained because we keep the IP here. And thirdly, we transfer and develop the skills of the Australian workforce. Now, the first of these is simple for us. Babcock Australasia is an Australian entity. We run our contracts here. All decisions are made in Australia, by Australians, for Australians. This means that the suppliers and the customers are dealing with a company who is working in the best interests of Australia, not for an offshore entity. We also work with Australian companies and OEMs to ensure that wherever possible, products are manufactured under licence locally in Australia, and we ensure that training is provided by the OEMs so that the skills and knowledge are transferred to Australia. Very little repair and maintenance work needs to be done on equipment offshore. We have incredible capability here and we need to support and to grow that. We've also been supporting Australian SMEs through supporting grant applications, teaming with Australian universities to leverage the technology developments, and by providing export opportunities to Australian companies into our wider network. Further, Babcock's approach is supported by our unique prime vendor model. This approach is supplier agnostic in choosing products and ensures fairness for all suppliers. So what do we mean when we say supplier agnostic? Well, firstly, being agnostic requires us to follow a disciplined process for the assessment of products for use in our programs. Our acquisition processes are aligned with the Commonwealth's own procurement guidelines. Coupled with Babcock's engineering and data analytics, our recommendations are evidence-based, assure real value for money, and reduce the total cost of ownership. But importantly, it is open, it is transparent, and it is auditable. Next is intellectual property, which you as the OEM or supplier have developed and owned. We know that one of the major issues that discourages suppliers from engaging with a prime who's also an OEM is the fear of compromising their own IP. Being agnostic and with the appropriate probity barriers in place, you can be confident that you're not handing IP to a potential competitor when you're dealing with Babcock. And finally, all suppliers must be confident that they are not competing with a Babcock product. Our role is to be very slick at managing the process on behalf of our customers. We're not seeking ways to fill our own order sheets, and we are not making a product that's going to line up next to yours. This approach means that suppliers can be confident that our process is truly independent and your products are being treated equally and fairly. The approach also gives confidence to our customers that what solutions we are providing truly are the best of breed. A true example of this model is our counter CBRNE contract, in which we're working with defence, suppliers and OEMs, and the user group, which I'll talk about now. I'm presenting this on behalf of Matt Murphy, our account manager for the prime vendor contract for counter chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear and explosive equipment, or CBRNE. Matt works from our Melbourne office down in Dorcas Street. This is a 5-year contract with CASG, which commenced in April 19 and has 2 5-year extension options. Under this contract, we look after the approach to market, acquisition of equipment, introduction into service, and the through life sustainment. We use a range of SMEs and OEMs to provide repair and maintenance on most equipment types, and we manage all the work orders to achieve this. We then get measured on KPIs, which are predominantly around the availability of serviceable equipment. You may be aware that there's 2 types of contracts in this space. That for land 2110 and then the land 3025 CBRNE contract, which we manage. The difference between our contract and the other one is the counter at the beginning and the word explosive at the end. This means that we cover the Defence Force's counter IED equipment as well as explosive ordnance disposal fleet, all the assets which include robotics, X-ray systems, personal protective equipment, and a number of other areas. There are 2 main elements to this contract: managing the CA26 CBRN fleet of equipment, and then there's the enduring piece where Land 35 Phase 2, and the acquisition of products through Windows 1, 2 and 3. The contract spans the whole of Defence due to the different responsibilities within each service to maintain their operation and training requirements. We engage with our customer CASG on a weekly and sometimes daily basis to ensure that the assets are not only fit for purpose, but fully functional to meet the operational and training needs. In this contract, we manage over 5,000 assets across 145 product lines in around 39 bases across Australia. This includes explosive ordnance disposal equipment, counter-IED tooling, CBR&E, and a number of other specialist assets. In order to support CASG and the users, we engage over 30 Australian agents or OEMs to ensure that the equipment is being maintained to the correct standard and available for use every time. This is another reason why we're looking to engage and work with highly skilled people and companies so that we can provide defence and the soldier the reassurance that their equipment is well looked after. Our technical teams come from Army, Navy and Air Force backgrounds, and this includes former RAMI, EOR technicians, as well as Army and Navy logistics and procurement officers. Matt and his team are looking to maintain strong relations with our existing customers, regardless of whether we are looking after your equipment or not at the moment. Matt's team needs to know what's on offer and what products you can provide at a later stage. They're also looking to connect with new suppliers so that we're aware of further product lines that are available in the counter CBR&E space. They also want to learn more about emerging technologies or products which may be of value as they mature in technical readiness and their applicability to the ADF. Matt's details are on the presentation, but please feel free to swing by the booth and to make contact with his reps there. As many of you are aware, Babcock's also seeking to be the prime vendor for Land 125 Phase 4. Under this project, Defence is looking for an industry partner to provide vendor services for product acquisition, integration and support to deliver the integrated soldier system. This is very similar to the CBR&E contract that I just described. It'll include robotics and autonomous platforms, integrating a wide range of technologies, including uncrewed, ground and aerial systems. Importantly, the government is seeking ways to further its commitment to advancing Australian industry capability by supporting SMEs and Australian companies via a strategic industry partner, and therefore reinforcing the sovereign industry capability policy. Babcock has approached Land 125 Phase 4 in an innovative way that is beneficial for defence and looking at the best of breed products available, as well as enabling Australian SMEs to integrate world-leading products into the integrated soldier system. It's pleasing to see that there are so many interested parties in the room who have an interest in Land 125. For those of you who responded to our initial request for information either via quad charts or provide detailed responses last year, thank you very much. That information that you provided was included in our response to the Commonwealth and was hugely important in enhancing our own understanding of what's available across the many different requirements that will make up the integrated soldier system. So what happens next? The RFT will be expected in mid to late July, with a number of physical equipment samples will be required by early 2022. Please note that the full scope of initial systems under consideration has not yet been confirmed. We expect that the tender period will be technically demanding and very high tempo. We will conduct our own approach to market and will be highly reliant on suppliers as we collaborate to design the system and to provide the highest quality tender submission. If we're successful, we'll then go through an offer definition and improvement phase that will be late 2022 through to mid-23, and that will require further samples from suppliers. Then following the evaluation and negotiation, contract award is anticipated for late 23, with orders to start flowing through in 2024. Our message to you is to be prepared. This will be a significant tendering activity for all concerned. The Australian Defence contracting template is very detailed and very demanding. As a prime, we'll support you through the process, but there's a body of work that you need to do to complete by yourselves to put your best foot forward for your products. To support your preparations, we advise that you prepare your tenderer's profile now and your product descriptions. We will also need a copy of your statement of tax records, and we will ask for that when we come out. Please have product samples available in country based on those timelines and in sufficient quantities to support multiple prime tenderers. We won't be the only ones who are going to ask for this information. Please have detailed product or system specifications available. The brochure specifications won't be sufficient as we go through the tendering phase. Be prepared to provide detailed answers and provide evidence about your product's compliance with the Commonwealth requirements. If you need to reach back for technical and engineering staff support elsewhere, especially if it's overseas, then please start to do so now. Establishing a pathway to support technical qualifications will be vital for the entirety of the tendering process. And similarly, have your pricing information available for both the acquisition and for the sustainment phase. Please fire up your commercial teams. As DEFCON will require us to flow down commercial terms for some areas down to suppliers. You need to be able to accept those and make recommendations with your commercial team. And finally, for offshore OEMs, consider opportunities to maximise the involvement of Australian industry partners. This will enhance your offering. Consider manufacture under licence, repair and maintenance and upgrade capabilities that can be done here in Australia using Australian companies. I hope that these points have been of help to you, and if you have any requirements or any further advice, then please feel free to get in touch with us, either at the stand or back through me and my team in Adelaide. As well as the opportunities that will be discussed here today, Babcock is always looking to the future. To maximise the current and emerging technologies in unmanned aerial systems and unmanned ground systems, Babcock's been developing the battlefield autonomous resupply concept to help solve the demands of last mile logistics for the land combatant. In just a few years' time, the ADF will have a new fleet of equipment, from new tanks, Land 400 vehicles, and the vehicles acquired under Land 121. To add to this, Land 125 integrated soldier system will include robotic and autonomous systems that will mean that we have a truly integrated modern land force. The capabilities of the wider digitally enabled and integrated force must be matched by the battlefield resupply system that has to be as agile and as responsive. Many of the enablers exist now, or they are emerging. Leveraging these and coordinating them through a single system will be the key to success for this concept. Babcock will seek to realise a solution in Australia for the battlefield autonomous resupply concept through working with companies and Australian suppliers, and this will evolve over time. We've already had strong interest from a number of areas of industry to support us. We've already developed a concept demonstrator, including data integration that will accept feeds from multiple sources, regardless of OEM, to create a common operating picture. This, coupled with a central hub for all unmanned and sensor platforms, will form the backbone for a solution set that we've developed already. Companies that have products or have high payload UAS capable systems that you'd like to discuss, or if you've been developing predictive algorithms that will include UAS and UGVs, and we haven't already met you, then please come forward and make contact with us. While the concepts are still developing, I'm confident that together we can enable an enhanced, integrated, autonomous resupply system that is highly responsive and highly connected. Importantly, it can be developed now so that it's available to fill the gap in last mile logistics when it is needed. Thank you again for your interest in Babcock's programs and for supporting Australia's land forces.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and thank you for taking the time today to come and listen to our presentation about opportunities with Babcock Australia. My name is Craig Schwartz, Defence Business Development Manager for Babcock, and I'm here today to talk to you about 3 key opportunities for us in Australasia. I apologise for not being able to be at Land Forces in person today, and whether you're watching this online or watching this at home, I hope that you're well. The 3 things I'm going to talk to you today are about strategic and tactical communications, the Integrated Land Targetry Systems Program, and of course training solutions across our defence and civilian portfolios in Australia and New Zealand. Firstly, in regards to military communications, you might not have heard about Babcock or associated Babcock with communications, but we've been a long-standing provider to the Five Eye and NATO community for over 70 years in VLF, LF and HF bands. We've been an operator for many years across all areas of the globe, and we have extensive capability all across the region that will now be coming to this region through the fixed high-frequency radio refresh program for the New Zealand Defence Force, a contract that we signed in February 2020 and that will kick off a 20-year program of support and acquisition to deliver the New Zealand government with an enhancement to their existing defence high-frequency communication system. This program in itself will require a long-standing relationships with a number of suppliers, and whilst we already have relationships in place across the globe, we're open to new relationships for innovation, technology, anything that can make our customers' lives better or to deliver cost and efficiency savings to their betterment. We're positioning ourselves for growth by investing in future capability to build on this for future programs. Our candidacy for the JP 9101 program has been publicised, and I'm unable to comment on that any further today because that is subject to the conditions of tender. But beyond 9101, we still have ambition. We wish to grow our program and capability by expanding in the future into the tactical communications domain. Some recent announcements have been made public with regards to the first phase of the Morpheus program, which is a UK MOD program for the Battlefield and Tactical Communications Information System, where Babcock is prime contractor for the logistics support contract for that program. A contract was recently signed just a few months ago. And so to this end, and further to the New Zealand HF opportunity, we're looking to build new opportunities with suppliers in the tactical and the strategic domain who have capability, product and services that we can leverage to the betterment of our customers' desired outcomes. Moving on from communications, we're now exploring the land targetry system domain. Babcock is interested in being a candidate prime contractor for this program should an approach to market be made in the not too distant future. Our prime vendor model will be utilised for this activity, subject to confirmation of CASG's preference, and of course we'd like to engage with a range of suppliers, whether you are a synthetic, a live or a virtual training or simulation designer, OEM or support provider, such that we can provide a holistic solution to the Australian Defence Force in the not too distant future. Lastly, I'll speak about training solutions. Babcock's interest in Australasia and across New Zealand, of course, are equally as wide as they are diverse. Whether we're flying helicopters, operating communication systems, training BMW automotive technicians, or even our own staff, we have a need, because of the diversity and also the geographic disposition of our workforce, to provide training on demand where it's needed to both support the development of our own staff and also to support the delivery of our programs. And so if you're a training designer, developer, a simulation developer, a gaming organisation, anything to do with training domain, we want to hear from you and understand how your capabilities can be used to support our objectives. Ultimately, across all of these domains, we want you to approach us with one frame of mind. And that's not what can Babcock do for you, but what you can do for our customer. Because ultimately, as an engineering organisation, they are the ones who we serve, and organisations that approach Babcock with this frame of mind find long and fruitful relationships that deliver benefits for both customer, yourselves and Babcock alike. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time today. I trust you've enjoyed this presentation, and if there's anything you'd like me to follow up on, my contact details are below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sitting through that one. We'll now go through to some live people on stage, so please welcome Sean Goggin, who will tell you about opportunities within defence aviation.
Thank you, Jane. Ladies and gentlemen. Hello and thank you, guests. My name is Sean, obviously, and I'm currently responsible for the development of defense aviation projects here at Babcock. So if you're interested in collaboration, are interested in future opportunities within the ADF for the Aviation Life Support Aeronautical Stewardship Program or Air 5428 Air Mission Training Services, please see me at the end of the briefing. In detail, for the Aeronautical Life Support Procurement Strategy Tender, which will be administered by the Aeronautical Life Support Logistics Management Unit as part of the Surveillance Response Program Office, ALS-LM, which is the ADF lead for the ALSI capability management, to acquire and sustain aviation common ALSI material sustainment across all services. The ADF is seeking a long-term partnership with industry to provide this stewardship framework for ALSI across all platforms. The proposed effective date for this effort is not scheduled until January 23. There have been no further details released by the project office RCASG at this time. However, Babcock is seeking interested suppliers, partners, existing or new, that are in our supply chain, to come speak with us in an effort to gain market acceleration and content neutrality to support this effort. I'll be in the back of the room if you want details on this as well. As far as Air 5428 Phase 3 is concerned, this is the next term of the Air Mission Training Services intended to deliver a fifth-generation training system for the Air Force Air Academy using modern training tools, methodologies, and support systems to generate non-pilot air mission specialist candidates ready for operational conversion in order to meet the needs of the ADF for ab initio input. This contract is intended to go through post-2040, and the invitation to register is expected no later than Q1 of 2022 and as early as Q4 of this year. We are currently in the process of that ITR and will register, and we're seeking input for the three primary services that the Air Force is looking for training needs analysis, design and development, simulation, and training in the environment, i.e. live. CASG and Headquarters Air Force are the current sponsors for AMTS right now, and Babcock is seeking interested suppliers or partners, existing or new to this market space, in order to achieve market acceleration and content neutrality. If any of you are interested in air mission training for the future of the ADF, I'll be in the back of the room to take your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And now to learn more about a current programme, please welcome Wayne Bennison, who will discuss ongoing support requirements for our ADF Aviation GSE contract now and over the next few years.
Welcome everyone. I manage the ADF GSE contract in Adelaide with a team of engineers, suppliers and technical officers. We have a fleet of about 210 different types of equipment that we support for all Army, Navy and Air Force aviation. So we sort of manage, I'd say, 40% of Defence's ground support equipment for aviation. This equipment consists of operational support, airfield support and obviously backroom workshop and hangar maintenance support. We have full delegation to go from acquisition through to disposal for every fleet. Every year we have to work with Defence to look at capability gaps. So we have opportunities to go out to market and we're constantly looking for local suppliers to meet that demand. Previously, over many years, a lot of equipment Defence have in this space is from overseas. There's a lot of challenges now to get product from overseas, so we're looking to engage industry on an ongoing basis. We've been in this contract for 3 years, and it's a rolling contract, so we have a really good period where we're working with Defence to understand their needs, and then obviously engaging with local industry to try and support that capability requirements. Every year we have opportunities for about a dozen different fleet types that are coming to the end of their life, and obviously once we start that program with Defence, we need to engage with industry to see is anybody here that can actually build and manage and support this equipment. So there's also an ongoing requirement for heavy maintenance, refurbishment programs. There's a lot of equipment that's actually not used a lot, but if we give it what we call, I guess, a midlife birthday, we sort of improve that, and then it continues on to support Defence's needs. So there's opportunities across a lot of areas and a lot of platforms. Our equipment we also manage on the Navy ships for their helicopters, and we're across about 20 bases in Australia, and then we look after overseas deployed assets as well. So if anyone's interested in this space, we'd be keen to have a chat. And as I said, we're in Adelaide, but all our customers Defence-wide are right across Australia in every single state. So thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. So now you've heard about the programs you can be involved in, Andrew Romano will tell you about joining our supply chain.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Romano, and I look after the supply chain for Babcock Defence. One of the first questions we're always asked in Babcock is, how do I become a supplier? And I just want to point out there's no single point of entry into our business to become a supplier. We offer any form of entry, whether that be introduction through engineering teams, technical teams, supply chain teams, or even our customer. But once that introduction is facilitated, we'll move through to points A or B. So we'll classify our suppliers as a simple procurement supplier, consisting of commercial off-the-shelf items, one-off buys, customer requests, anything that fits that domain. Or we'll categorise into topic B, which is your tender, your RFI, your RFQ. That'll be a more complicated process, which follows the government procurement guidelines, and it also is aligned to our agnostic approach to market. That also may involve tender software along the way. Moving from there, we start the onboarding process, and this is where you will start to become a supplier to Babcock. The first and probably the most critical part of that process is the due diligence process. That will consist of questionnaires where we will guide you through those questionnaires if needed. We'll take through looking at your certificates, any insurances or policies you may possess, and even reviewing ABN details. Once that's completed, we'll move to either two areas. One might be a subcontract, which would have flow-down clauses from our prime contract if required, and they would be tailored to the service that you're offering. Or we may move straight to an agreed terms and conditions, the top box up there. That's where we negotiate, we'll modify, align and ascertain risk. Okay, so in a nutshell, those three steps of the process will take 2 to 4 weeks if we have all documents available, and then you officially be onboarded as a supplier in Babcock's system. So what that means from there is we can start to place orders to you, and that's done through our shared service teams across Adelaide and Melbourne currently, and that team is responsible for ensuring continuity of communications so that there's never someone away when a supplier needs to talk to us or we need to talk to a supplier. They will manage all purchase orders to suppliers. They'll follow delivery follow-ups and anything that's lacking in the supply chain, and they'll also work through import requirements. So that's the doing. That's us engaging with the supplier, and then there's the measuring. So the last part of the cycle for us is really the most key, and that is regular tailored supply chain meetings, and they can be periodic. They could be monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly, even annually, depending on what you are providing. But they'll always consist of reviewing attainment to the services in the subcontract or what the provider is promising. They'll touch on any issues that we may be seeing. We'll measure on-time delivery of those suppliers and also milestone reviews. So in a nutshell, that is Babcock's 6-step process. You can take a picture if you want, otherwise I'll be happy to have a chat with you at the back of the room. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. So what I'm showing here is access to our website, which has a supplier registration form. You can either follow the URL, and you'll see the Join Our Supply Network box there that you can fill in some details. You can also take a picture of this QR code, and that will take you straight there. So now we'll be opening up the room for a networking session. As people have pointed out, at the back of the room we'll be having Land 125, high-frequency communications, defence aviation and supply chain subject matter experts, and at the front of the room for ADF GSC and CCBR&E. You can also come by our stand in Hall 3, stand number 3T14. So many thanks for your time this afternoon, and we look forward to connecting with you.